They don't fear your strength. They don't fear your rage. They don't even fear your victories. What terrifies them most is you becoming untouchable, not because of armor or weapons, but because you've learned to feel nothing. They can argue with anger. They can twist fear. They can manipulate love and trust. But how do you fight someone who has cut every string you pull? You've bled. You've burned, you've endured, and in that fire, something inside you changed. You stopped reacting, you stopped caring, you stopped giving them the fuel they needed to win. Now they stand before a new enemy, an enemy who feels nothing, and that is the one battle they cannot prepare for. Most enemies don't fight with fists. They fight with whispers. They fight with shadows. They hope you'll break yourself before they ever have to touch you. They depend on your emotions. Fear makes you freeze. Anger makes you reckless. Pain makes you desperate. Trust, when broken, lets them tear you apart. It's never their strength that wins, it's your reaction. Here's their mistake. They built every plan on the assumption that you'd still feel. They wanted you to rage. They wanted you to drown in emotions they could twist. But you chose something else. You stopped reacting. Insults bounced off. Betrayals dulled. Their games lost grip because you refused to give them what they needed most. A response. Silence became your shield. Calm became your weapon. Where others fell apart, you stood steady. They can't drag you into chaos anymore, because chaos only works on those who lose control. You have become immovable. That is what sets you apart. Not that you are louder, but that you are untouchable. Because you no longer feel what they depend on. They tried betrayal. It means nothing to someone who no longer clings to trust. They tried lies. They fall flat against someone who doesn't crave approval. They tried fear. It loses its bite against someone who isn't afraid to lose. Every weapon they carried was built for an opponent who still cared. But you are no longer that opponent. Their poison has no taste. Their shadows cannot touch the one who walks unbound by emotion. And as their weapons fail, they realize the truth. They aren't fighting a person anymore. They are fighting silence, and silence can't be defeated. They built their strategy on emotion, that you would cry, rage, doubt, or fear. But you cut those strings. One by one, you severed every chain they thought they could pull. Now their traps don't work. Their whispers don't echo. Their betrayals don't land. You've become something they can't plan for. An enemy who doesn't take the bait. An enemy who doesn't react. An enemy who feels nothing. And nothing is impossible to fight. How do you corner someone who cannot be provoked? How do you defeat someone who no longer plays by the rules of emotion? You don't. That's the nightmare you've become. Not louder, not angrier, but untouchable. To them, feeling nothing looks like emptiness. To you, it is freedom. Without fear, no threat can touch you. Without anger, no insult can control you. Without the need for approval, no lie can define you. Feeling nothing isn't being broken. It is being unchained. It means you stand above the storm, untouched by its chaos. They confuse stillness with weakness. But stillness is power. It listens. It learns. It waits, and when it moves with precision, calm, sharp, unstoppable. That is the strength of feeling nothing. Not absence, but clarity. And clarity is the weapon they can never match. At first, they thought your silence was surrender. Then, they saw you rise. They watched you endure without anger, without fear. And that terrified them more than any outburst ever could. Because how do you defeat someone who doesn't flinch? How do you shatter someone who no longer cares about the blow? Their weapons slipped from their hands. Their confidence dissolved because they realized they had no power left over you. It was never your rage that scared them. It was your silence, your refusal to play their game, your transformation into something untouchable. So let them keep trying. Let them whisper. Let them scheme. None of it matters anymore, because you have become what they fear most, an enemy who feels nothing. They can't fight what they can't touch. They can't break what doesn't react. They can't control what doesn't bend. You are untouchable. You are unshakable. You are unstoppable. Their games no longer work. Their lies no longer cut. Their betrayals no longer sting. You've risen beyond them. You've become the silence they cannot destroy, the force they cannot cage, the enemy they cannot fight.